Welcome back. So in this series, we're talking about simple estate planning for the rest of us. That may even wind up being the title, but this is estate planning for the 99%. So much of the estate planning world goes after the 1%ers, the high net worth folks. We do elaborate trust and all of that, and I don't really get into that. I can, but it's really not where my strong point is. My strong point is helping people deal with their everyday estate planning, because everybody deserves to leave a legacy of peace, not a legacy of chaos. And so that's what we're talking about. In this episode, I'm not going to talk about trust. We hadn't gotten there yet. I'm talking about the most important documents, and trust hasn't made it on that part of the list yet. What we're talking about today, we're talking about beneficiary forms. So these are very simple forms. If you've got a life insurance policy, an IRA account, a money market, or any kind of managed money account, you've got a beneficiary form. Even on your bank accounts, you're typically going to have a transfer of death, payable on death, that sort of thing. So if those forms are filled out the way that they're supposed to be, it's part of the contract. That money flows without going through probate. Doesn't have to go through anything else. We don't have to look at a will, say what does the will say, what does the trust say. It's what the beneficiary form says. It was designed to be simple. And what happens is people overcomplicate that. So I've got one estate in probate now where Mama just put to my estate on the beneficiary form. Well, what happened? Well, she created a situation where we have to go open and probate because she put to my estate instead of putting, her kids' names in there, instead of putting, a spouse's name in there. So look at your beneficiary forms, make sure they say what you want them to say. Now, for most people listening and watching to this, you may say, well, beneficiary forms is kind of simple. Is that really something we want to look at when it comes to estate planning? Well, what happens is people typically spend a very long time before they review their beneficiary forms. Things happen in life, divorce, adoption, death, whatever, and then they don't go back and they don't fix their beneficiary forms. So I'm gonna pose this question to you: when's the last time you looked at your beneficiary forms? I'll wait. It's been a while, hasn't it? Because people don't think about it. I have a situation where because I have both my law license as well as my life insurance license, where I help manage some orphan files, and it amazes me on some of those folks how long it's been since they've updated their beneficiary form. You go in and you look at these, and the situation is, are these people still alive? Are they still with us? Do you still like them? Whatever, look at your beneficiary forms, because, in this theme of, we want to create a legacy of peace, not a legacy of chaos. That's part of it. I've seen situations as an attorney where other attorneys have taken wills or trust and they've tried to modify those accounts, those life insurance or investment accounts or IRAs or whatever it is, with their will. They can't do that. It's a contract. It's what does the beneficiary form say? Now, it may be a situation where they made a beneficiary change and maybe they filled it out and sent it in, but typically most of those companies want their own forms, not the attorney's forms. So, don't kid yourself. This is something that's very simple, but get it right. You've got to pay attention to it. You've got to take the effort in doing it. And that's even why in this series I put beneficiary forms over a trust. Because so often, if our beneficiary forms say what we want them to say, and as one previous law partner of mine used to say, we didn't get too cute by half. We didn't overthink it and put to my estate or to my trust or leave it blank on that beneficiary form. We said who we wanted it to go to, which is a living person. Then that works really simply. Now, where we find situations to where it could be a good idea to have a trust is if we have minors listed in the beneficiary. So typically, married couples going to have each other's primary and then the kids as contingent beneficiaries. Well, if any of those kids are minors, it helps to have a trust in place so that money has a place to go, as opposed to leaving a question mark. Does it pass by what's called UTMA, Uniform Transfers to Minors Act, or UGMA, which is Uniform Gifts to Minors Act? Is it supposed to pass that way? Is the insurance company supposed to hold it until they turn 18? Are there some specific directions there? Or is it a situation where I saw a few weeks ago where you had to go hire an attorney and plead it into court, and the court holds on to it and probably doesn't gain any interest or that sort of thing? So in those situations, I really do like a trust whenever we're passing anything to a minor, because again, I've talked about before, trusts are all about what you don't trust. So you don't trust the process of getting that money to the minor. You don't trust the minor to hold on to that money. You don't trust someone who is older than 18 years old, so legally an adult, even though there's things they can't do, which makes no sense. So they're legally an adult, but they can't receive the money. So trust fit in there. But in this part of the series, we're talking about what's important. And for a lot of people, if you'll just look at that beneficiary form, if you'll just name the primary beneficiary, who is an adult person, the contingent beneficiaries, who are at least people. If we've got a contingent beneficiary, and again, we want that to go to a trust, so fine, name the trust. But name people, don't say to my estate, because you artificially create an estate. So in this series, we're talking about how the rest of us deal with our estate planning, how the rest of us leave a legacy of peace, not a legacy of chaos. We've talked about powers of attorney. We've talked about advanced care directives. We've talked about a will. This time we're talking about just make sure your beneficiary forms are the way that you want them to be. Talk to your professional, talk to the company, whatever. Just update them. And a lot of times those companies are going to want full names. They're going to want Social Security numbers. They're going to want dates of birth and addresses, and they don't want that because there's some nefarious purpose that they're going to do with that information. They want that so that they get that money to the right person whenever that time arises. So look at your beneficiary forms. Make sure they're the way that you want them to be. Again, we're coming back to this area of my disclosure. You know, I'm a licensed Tennessee attorney. This is for the practice of law and estate planning in Tennessee. If you've not signed a document, if you've not paid me money, there's a good chance you're not a client of mine. You're not a client just because you watched this video. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Feel free to hit like and subscribe, and I will be back again shortly. Thanks for watching.